Hey, everybody, and welcome to the John DeVito Show. It is a chilly day here in Massachusetts today, and I'll tell you, I experienced all of the elements yesterday, but I had an absolutely electric day attending for the first time ever my first Trump rally. It was amazing. It was electric. I met some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. And literally, it was one of the longest days of my life, but one of the best experiences I have ever had. If you haven't been to a Trump rally, you need to get to one. It was just electric, and the people were amazing. I felt the love in the air. I felt just I just experienced so many people that care about this country and really care about the direction this country is heading. And I'm going to talk about some of my experiences and talk about some of the people that I met yesterday. And it was just an incredible day. I mean, I left there feeling better about America than I have in a very long time. And it was just incredible to experience the entire day. So let me start by telling you what happened yesterday, how it went, and what the entire day was like. And hopefully, if you're in New Hampshire, I know that Trump has several more rallies that are going to be happening over the next several days. If you get a chance, get to one. You will not regret it. I promise you that. So I was able to go online. I got an email from the Trump campaign, and it had an opportunity for me to request tickets. So I did that, and I requested tickets for the event in Atkinson, New Hampshire, at the Atkinson Country Club. Now, the reason why I requested that is I live in Massachusetts now, but I grew up in Atkinson, New Hampshire, and my father actually has a house on the fifth hole of the golf course. So whenever I went up to visit my dad, we would always go to lunch at the Atkinson Country Club. I've played golf there many times, and it's really a beautiful venue and something that the people of Atkinson are very proud of. Now, I also know the owner of the Atkinson Country Club. Her name is Chris Lewis, and they're a very well-known family. They have a very large construction company in New Hampshire, and they built many of the houses in that town. I grew up with several members of the family, and it was nice. I was able to see her actually yesterday. We talked a little bit. So to take it back a little bit earlier in the day, I live about an hour and 20 minutes away from Atkinson, New Hampshire, and we had a bit of a snowstorm yesterday. Now, not a huge snowstorm. We probably got like 6 inches of snow, so it wasn't terrible. But I get up in the morning, and one of my sons came with me. So we drove from my house in Massachusetts up to Atkinson in the middle of a snowstorm. The roads weren't great. I mean, they weren't awful. I have four-wheel drive, and if you live in New England, you drive in the snow. That's just what we do up here. The roads are plowed pretty well. They salt them pretty well. So, we got there without really any problem. So we got there at about 11:30 in the morning. Now, Trump was supposed to speak at 5. The doors opened at 2. So we got there early. Now, when I got there, I didn't know what to expect. Someone had given me advice to get there earlier. Actually, one of my followers on my Twitter page or my X page had given me advice to get there early. So we did that. And when we got there, I was surprised to see that probably three-quarters of the parking lot was already full, excuse me, at that point in the day. So we got in line. It was snowing like you wouldn't believe. It was cold. And it was just really, really, really tough conditions. So we stood out there for several hours. But while standing out there, we got to meet so many people in line. There was a group of women from Vietnam who were standing in front of us. They brought their Bluetooth speaker. They were playing, very patriotic music the entire time. They had their, Make America Great, Donald Trump sign. And they were actually taking some periods of time to get on their microphone and talk about what it was like to live under a communist regime in Vietnam and to listen to these ladies talk about some of the experiences, how several of them had been imprisoned in Vietnam and talked about what it was like to live in a communist state was really just powerful to hear. And I'm hoping that a lot of people listen to them because I sat and listened to what she was saying, talking about how horrible it was to grow up in those conditions. And more Americans need to listen to people like them who have experience in growing up in a communist regime because that is, in my opinion, what the left wants to do. They are looking to push fascism. They are looking to push socialism. They are looking to push communism. And that is what the Trump MAGA movement is about. It's about preventing that from happening. It's about preventing the World Economic Forum and Soros and Schwab from taking away our freedom and imposing upon us a government control that was never meant to happen in the United States of America. So those ladies were amazing. I met another person, this guy, his name was Scott, and he had Trump buttons all over his jacket. So I went to take a picture of him, and when I did, he handed me his business cards. Now, for those of you that have listened to my show for a number of years, you know that I do interviews, I do a lot of different things, and I'm a huge horror movie fan. So this gentleman, once I started speaking to him, he had driven up from New Jersey to attend this. And he was telling me that he had been in over 100 horror movies, which to me was amazing. So I talked to him for quite some time. And we actually found out he was in the sequel to Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, yes, I do like the original. Obviously, it's a silly movie, but my daughter and I are both very big horror movie fans, and we watched that together. I actually have a Killer Clowns t-shirt. I'm not ashamed to say that. So I was a little bit of a fanboy with him. So anyway, we stood out in line. I took a lot of pictures. So if you don't follow me on X, you can. I have a page called the Pussification of America. I've got about 15,000 followers on X and about 51,000 followers on Facebook. So I posted some of the videos and some of the pictures from the day on those two platforms that I have. Now, I stood outside, took videos, ended up buying a Trump hat, bought a Trump campaign button, and it was amazing. So anyway, we finally start to get into the building, and it was delayed. So I was outside freezing. We finally get to the front of the line, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of cool. We had Secret Service there. They had the metal detectors that were set up very similar to what you'd experience at an airport. So we had to walk through the metal detectors. I had to take everything out of my pockets, put it in my hat, put it over on a table next to the metal detectors. And then I had to walk through. I had to unzip my jacket, walk through the metal detectors. And then the Secret Service used the wand on me to make sure, I didn't have any weapons or anything like that on me. Completely understandable, being that Donald Trump was going to be inside. So we finally made it in. My son made it in, and we were ushered into this ballroom in the Atkinson Country Club. Now, the Atkinson Country Club is not a huge venue. It has a ballroom that they use downstairs for weddings. So you can kind of picture the size of that. It's not a giant room. So we got into this ballroom, and there were seats in the front, and it looked like those were for people that had been, pre-established to sit in that area. So when we got inside, I was maybe one row behind the seated people standing. Ran into a couple of friends that I knew from Atkinson, New Hampshire. A guy by the name of Brian, who I knew growing up. It was nice to see him. I hadn't seen him in about 30 years. So we chatted a little bit. And then, out of nowhere, my son, who was with me, who is a teenager, they came and they grabbed him, and they brought him right to the front row of the venue, and he got a seat right in the front row next to a beautiful young woman, 6 feet tall, blonde girl who was the same age as he was, and they sat literally right in the front row for the speech of Trump. So he got lucky. I stayed in the back. Now, I will say that I was also very lucky. I ran into two women that were standing in my area, and I noticed at one point that there was a woman standing behind me. Now, I'm 6'4". There was a woman standing behind me that was a little bit shorter than I was, and I asked her if she'd like to stand in front of me. She reluctantly accepted. She was very kind, and I ended up speaking to her and to her daughter. Now, the woman's name was Bonnie, and her daughter was or is Molly. And they were both originally from Caribou, Maine, and they moved to Bedford, New Hampshire recently. So I got a chance to talk to the two of them for at least 2 hours. And honestly, it would have been painful to be standing there for all of that time waiting for Trump to arrive because Trump got delayed because of the weather, the snow, and he was about an hour late getting to the venue. So I sat and I talked to Bonnie and Molly from Bedford, New Hampshire. Just a wonderful mother daughter team. You could just see the love between the two of them. And when I started talking to the mom, Bonnie, she could not tell me enough about her daughter. Her daughter was a trained singer, and her daughter was in the one Miss Maine years ago and was in the Miss America pageant. Now, hopefully, I got that right. I think I said Miss USA originally, but she was in the Miss America pageant, and her talent, was amazing. So I actually took some time this morning to look her up. And if any of you want to see a young woman with amazing talent, you can look up the name Molly Bouchard in Caribou, Maine, and see some of the videos of her singing. She was trained in Boston, just an amazing voice. She's a young mother of two, just a wonderful young lady, and it was a pleasure to talk to them and just enjoy a conversation with them, and just really great people. So I enjoyed it very, very much, getting a chance to talk to them, and it was kind of funny. The mom, Bonnie, asked if we could, share numbers because she wanted to find out what was going to happen with the potential love connection between my son and the beautiful young lady that he was sitting next to during the event. So it was a fun time. It was amazing. Bonnie and Molly, I'm going to send this link to you. Loved you both. You were amazing. Hopefully, we will keep in touch, and just wonderful people. And that's what this event was about. This event was about wonderful people. I think about Hillary Clinton talking about how we are deplorables. The MAGA group are deplorables. Now, if you really think about it, MAGA, what does it stand for? Make America Great Again. And I don't understand how that has become a negative concept for anyone. I mean, Make America Great Again is beautiful. It promotes freedom. It promotes love of our country. It promotes morals. It promotes all of the things that are great about America. And we need a lot more of this in our country. And what I also loved in this group, and this place was packed from front to back. I'm not great at estimating numbers, but I'm guessing there were at least a couple of thousand people really just squeezed into this location. And as I said to my family, we were like sardines in there at one point. But it was just electric. So we had, at the beginning of the event, we had several speakers come up. It started with a pastor from the area who got up. And you all know me. I am a man of faith. I am a Christian. And to have him come up and give just a beautiful blessing to start the day was phenomenal. He came up. He was electric. He was wonderful. And he really did a great job starting off the event. Then we all together sang the Pledge of Allegiance. And then another beautiful young woman came up and sang the national anthem for all of us. And it was just a beautiful start to the day. We had several speakers that led up to Donald Trump. So when the initial speakers all ended, we had probably about I'd say an hour break until Trump arrived. He was just delayed by the snowstorm. He was flying in from New York and had to get to this venue that is, off the beaten path a little bit. So if he flew into Manchester, New Hampshire, which I assume he may have, it's about a 35-minute ride in good weather to get to the airport, to get to the Atkinson Country Club. So we all waited. We were talking, having a good time. There were people starting chants, people holding up Trump signs. It was really just amazing. And so finally, after the wait happened, Trump came in. It was electric. It was magical. It was amazing. And you could see and hear from Donald Trump how much he loves America. But then, and I hope I said his name correctly, It was a little bit of a surprise. Vivek Ramaswamy, I think I said it right, I'm not sure, but he posted on his Twitter page that he had come to New Hampshire to be a part of this event. So that was something we hadn't expected. And, I'd liked him all the way along, but then over the last few days, you start to wonder, is he trying to pull the wool over people's eyes? Is he pulling an Obama on the American people? So I'm still not sure entirely how I feel about him, but he came to the event. They introduced Trump first. Trump came out, said some words, and then he introduced Vivek to the crowd. I will tell you, I don't know if I've ever been in a place where I've heard a person speak so eloquently as Vivek Ramaswamy did. He addressed the crowd. He hit everything of importance that you could imagine in his speech. He was charismatic. He was well spoken. He absolutely nailed his presentation to the point when he wrapped up, the entire crowd started cheering VP, VP, VP. Now, I've read in several places that Dr. Ben Carson is still the front runner for the vice president's position. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I would think that Donald Trump has to think about Vivek as being a potential vice president. Hopefully, at least somewhere in his cabinet once he is elected president of the United States again. I mean, we all know that this is going to be the third time because he won in 2016. We all know he won in 2020, and Biden and his liberal communists stole the election from us. But I cannot see any scenario where they beat Trump here in 2024 unless they cheat again. So I would love to see Trump and Vivek on the same ticket. Vivek is a better speaker than Trump is, very intelligent young man. And I love that he is a man of color. I believe he is Indian. And he got up and talked about how divisive it is for people to be recognized by their color. Now, you hear a lot of things sometimes about New Hampshire being a state that is predominantly white. And it is. I grew up there. But to see the way the room embraced this young man, it was powerful to see. And I think it shows very clearly that the MAGA movement, we are not deplorables. We are not racists. We are not bad people. We want our country to be what the founding fathers intended it to be. And that is the greatest nation on the face of the earth that is about freedom, that is about following the Constitution, freedom of speech, protecting the Second Amendment, and doing all the things that they wrote about in that Constitution. And it drives me crazy when I hear people say that the Constitution is an outdated document. It is not an outdated document. These men had just fought to liberate a country from a tyrannical government. They knew what it took to attain freedom, and they provided us the framework to protect freedom. It's up to us now, our generation, to protect the United States of America for future generations. And I love that Vivek got up and he talked about how, again, his parents were legal immigrants. And I talk about that a lot myself. My grandparents were legal immigrants. They didn't take a dime from anybody. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Neither did my father. We have worked hard for everything we have. We have scratched. We've saved. We have done the right things in our lives. Then we have people on the left, after, in my family, 100 years of scratching and fighting and clawing to succeed. Now we're being told we're white supremacists and we have white privilege. There was nothing privileged about my childhood. There was nothing privileged about my father's childhood. We worked our asses off to get where we are today. And yes, we're going to have something to leave our children. But again, that has nothing to do with privilege. It has to do with hard work, grit, determination, and the belief that you can make something of your life in this country if you work hard enough. So the founding fathers, the Constitution, when you look at Vivek and what Trump bring to the table, just powerful. It's powerful. And for anyone that listens to my voice, no one pays me. I'm not bought and paid for by anybody. You can't buy and pay for me. I'm an independent thinker. I'm an independent person. And if you value the United States of America, Nikki Haley is not going to get you there. Ron DeSantis is not going to get you there. Joe Biden and the cast of liberal socialist communists on the left are not going to get you there. There is one man that's going to preserve what the United States of America stands for, and that is Donald J. Trump. Now, he got up on stage. He was electric. He did his usual things where he, made fun of people and cracked some jokes and things like that. But you can see that this man, who is a billionaire, he could be sitting on the beach in Mar-a-Lago instead of leaving Iowa in the middle of night, arriving in New York City at 3:30 in the morning, attending court hearings because, of course, the liberal communists who claim that their candidate got 81 million votes are so concerned about Biden losing that they have to throw all these indictments at him. So Trump attended court, then got on a plane and flew to New Hampshire and got there an hour late in the middle of a snowstorm to address his followers. That man doesn't stop. He is 20 years older than I am, and I am exhausted today after my experience yesterday. And this guy flew to New York last night. He's flying back to New Hampshire again tonight. He's doing it again. The man, for 76 years old, has more energy than I have in my body. And I am proud to be a Donald Trump supporter. So for those out there that want to call us deplorables, knock yourself out. But I'll tell you what's deplorable. Deplorable are people that are opening our border and allowing an invasion of our country. Deplorable are the people on the left that are trying to take away our freedoms and destroy the foundations of our country. That's what's deplorable. So for everybody out there, if you get a chance to go to a Trump rally, I am so glad I did. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a long day. It was cold. We stood up for a long time. The entire thing was delayed because of the weather, and it was a long, tiring day. But I do not regret for one moment that I was there, and I don't regret for one moment that I attended and experienced this once-in-a-lifetime thing. Now, I got to mention also, I forgot that I was in line. When I was in line, I met someone who follows me on my Twitter page. She came up to say hello. She had texted me to tell me that she wanted to come by and meet me, and I got to meet her. That was amazing. Met a few other people that follow my X page. But honestly, as I said earlier, really the highlight of the day for me was spending time with that mother-daughter tandem, Bonnie and Molly from Bedford, New Hampshire, originally from Caribou, and just great people. And it was funny. They were telling me also, talk about just loving your hometown. Bonnie's husband, I can't remember his name, but he has stayed back in Caribou, Maine, because he has a farm that he owns up there, and he just couldn't bring himself to leave and move down to Bedford. So Bonnie is a nurse, and she went down to Bedford, and she's working there, and I believe living with her daughter, Molly. But we exchanged phone numbers. We're going to keep in touch, and who knows, maybe I'll have one of them on at some point to talk on this podcast. So anyway, you know me, I like to keep my podcast 20 minutes or under. I'm already at 23 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I am honored to have been at that event yesterday. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I do not regret going. And like I said, if you have a chance to go see Trump in person, do it. It's amazing. You will not regret it. And let's all make sure that in New Hampshire and in the other states where the primaries are coming up, and of course in the presidential election, let's make America great again and get Donald Trump back in office. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in to the John DeVito Show. I wish I could thank each and every one of you in person, but just know that I'm doing that right now through my phone. All right, so I am thanking all of you for listening to my show. My downloads are through the roof. I appreciate all of you, and I love all of you. So have a wonderful day. God bless you. God bless America, and thank you for tuning in to the John DeVito Show.